All right, today we're going to break down a viral video that connects a really controversial war overseas to a super high-stakes congressional race right here in the US. So how in the world does a conflict thousands of miles away become a talking point in a Michigan campaign? Well, let's get into it. The core question here is something we see all the time. How can a war happening on the other side of the planet actually affect our day-to-day lives and even our politics? We're going to walk you through the connections the source material makes, from the halls of Congress all the way to the campaign trail. So, our story kicks off on Capitol Hill, right in the middle of a pretty intense congressional hearing. And the man in the hot seat is General Grinkovich, the new NATO Supreme Allied Commander in Europe. He is facing some really tough questions about a very controversial military operation. What are they talking about? Well, it's all about this unauthorized war in Iran. And you better believe lawmakers are demanding answers from the general about the strategy, how it's being carried out, and of course, the incredibly serious consequences of these actions. And that leads us right to a really heavy part of the hearing, this massive weight of military accountability, especially when civilian lives get caught in the middle. The video points to one incident in particular, and it's absolutely tragic: a strike on an elementary school in Manab. It reports that 185 people died. I mean, that's a sobering number that really just puts a human face on what can feel like an abstract conflict. So what's General Grinkovich's response? Well, in his testimony, he defends the whole process. He's trying to make it clear that he was personally involved, explaining how every single strike requires this careful balancing act between civilian risk and military need. Okay, but here's where the video draws a really sharp contrast. On one hand, you have the general talking about protecting civilians, but on the other, the video alleges that Secretary Hegseth has not only slammed the very rules designed for that protection, but has also slashed funding for the Civilian Protection Center of Excellence by a staggering 90%. From there, the hearing kind of zooms out to the bigger picture, looking at the unintended ripple effects of the war across the globe. And the argument made in the source material is that there's one country that's actually benefiting from all this. Big time. So how is Russia supposedly winning here? The video lays out 3 key ways. First up, gas prices are through the roof, which is a huge boost to its economy. Then you've got sanctions on its oil sales being lifted. And third, and this is a big one, critical U.S. missile systems like the Patriots are getting sent to the Gulf instead of Ukraine, which directly impacts a whole other war. And this right here, this is the real kicker. A senator asks the general straight up, has this war accidentally given Putin a huge strategic advantage and more staying power? Basically, turning an American military op into an unintentional lifeline for a major rival? Okay, so you have these massive geopolitical ripples happening, but then the video pulls us right back home to show how this is all shaping a political race. We get introduced to a candidate who's using his own deep military background to question the very idea behind this war. So, who is this candidate? His name is Matt Mozdem. The video really builds up his resume. He's running for Congress in Michigan's 7th District. He's a 20-year Navy SEAL, a veteran of both Iraq and Afghanistan, and he even served as President Obama's military aide, the guy who carried the nuclear football. So the point is to frame his perspective as coming from some serious experience. And this gets to the core of what Mozdem is arguing. He's not just questioning the tactics. He's challenging the entire strategy by asking these really fundamental questions that the source suggests nobody answered. Why are we doing this? Why right now? What is the actual plan? And maybe, most important of all, how does this end? And the source uses this really powerful analogy to drive the point home. It's like a fighter who's so strong they don't have to go around picking fights to prove it. So the argument is that the U.S. military is that strong fighter, and jumping into a conflict without a clear endgame isn't strength, it's just bad judgment. And this, right here, is where the video tries to connect all the dots. It draws a straight line from the billions of dollars being spent on a war overseas to the financial problems people are facing in one congressional district in Michigan. Step 1 of the argument. It's simple. This war costs a ton of money. We're talking billions. The source claims an eye-watering $25 billion were spent in just 2 weeks. And that leads to step 2, which has its own kind of powerful logic. Every single dollar spent over there is a dollar that can't be spent on things we need right here. It's basically framed as a zero-sum game. And the final piece of the puzzle, the result of all this,
The argument is that this directly hits people's wallets. It means things like healthcare, housing, and even groceries get more expensive for the folks in his district.
So you might be thinking, okay, it's one congressional race. Why is it such a big deal? Well, the source points out that CNN has called this a tipping point race. The winner here could literally decide which party controls the entire House of Representatives, which just raises the stakes on this local race to a whole new national level.
So when you put it all together, from that hearing on Capitol Hill to a campaign in Michigan, it all boils down to this one huge question at the heart of American politics. How do our leaders balance our country's role on the world stage with the very real needs of people right here at home? It's a really complex question, right? No easy answers for sure, but it's one this whole story really forces us to think about.